is the one who is responsible yang banyak ada commercialization in UC Melaya and also in UPM especially. So that's why kita jemput Cik Zakir pada pagi ni to give a talk on the funding sustainability for more research opportunities. Okay, but before that, I would like to read a bit lah, some biography about Cik Ahmad Zakir. So currently, Cik Zakir is the Senior Innovation Catalyst of Tenaga Nasional Berhad. He also former of a CEO UMCIC, UMC Melaya, from August till November 2019. He also attached with UPM as a CEO of commercialization, UPM. Quite a few years, Cik Zakir, kat UPM.
Ya. 5 tahun.
5 tahun, okay. So quite a while juga tu, 5 tahun. And also he is the CEO or founder at Fresh Job Incorporated from March until present till now. Yeah. And also he also attached with few companies lah. Basically, Encik Zakir is an entrepreneur lah. He's a tech entrepreneur, I would say. He also specialized in commercialization, licensing, and transfer of technology, IP. He's also the IP panelist, grant panelist, okay? Business incubator coach. He also expert in lean startup. This is very interesting because I'm quite interested with the lean startup actually. Yeah. Also, the expert in customer discovery, how to discover a customer. This is very, a bit jargon to us for academician, but it is essential in the field of innovation and commercialization. We need to understand, we need to know who are the customer that we are dealing with. Okay, which market are we going into? So all these are very important. Also market validation. Now, this market validation skill is also important for the academic staff, also for the ICC. ICC, we also have to learn with Mr. Zakir. Okay. And then he also the mentor and also the coach for startups. Not only for the business side, Mr. Zakir is also good at the technical side. So I can see that he is the Agile Scrum Master. This is software engineering, software engineer. He's also good in the coding or programming as well. Okay, so Mr. Zakir, without further ado, so I will pass this to, so over to you. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Faizal, for this opportunity. For us, it's important to to all gather at the same time here, so to understand this better. So saya berterima kasih lah daripada pihak UUM. So Assalamualaikum, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Assalamualaikum everybody. I hope all of you will gain something from my talk pagi Ahad ni. I am more than willing to have a chit chat with with someone in order to improve their work, particularly in research. I tak tahu whether some of you have heard of 1901 hot dogs ke tak. 1901 hot dogs was one of my first business. Now we have left it to the franchisee. Satu ketika tu 1901 hot dogs tu ada about 110 outlets. So from there, we ran 1901 Dog sebagai franchisor. So bila jadi franchisor tu, kita menolonglah franchisee buka outlet. Bila menolong buka franchisee buka outlet tu bukan hanya sekadar buka sedang berhad saja. Saya membantu diorang macam mana training untuk staff diorang, macam mana cari lokasi diorang, macam mana processes and system diorang. So dari situlah saya belajar lebih programming, understanding the system, understanding the processes, macam mana company tak boleh, how company kalau boleh reduce the risk or risiko untuk tutup company kan. So dengan brandingnya, dengan marketingnya, dengan sistemnya, dengan backup operationnya, dengan supply, all that lah. So I think we did that for almost 15 years, 13 to 15 years, and daripada situ saya faham lah a little bit of how to go to market, how to open companies, how to reduce risk, and from that perspective, I understand better what the customer wants and so forth, and also how to bring products to market. That's important. So this is a this is a topic to, I'm sure, to all of you researchers. So very very close to heart in terms of finding grants and finding what do you call it, money to sustain your work, to particularly research. And I'm sure most of you, I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher at heart also. I used to teach MBA dekat Putra Business School. So as you know, as not full time, but they called me to teach MBA on marketing and management. So, and my mother, auntie, uncle semua cikgu lah. So memang I am a teacher at heart myself. So I do understand that apart from teaching, research is something that you are all are here because you want to contribute somehow to society, right? And itu naluri hidup kita kan. I understand that, but money is important in order to sustain the research. So for me, I do understand that this is important, and in understanding that, is also much more important for us to understand how can we get the money. Itu lagi penting kan, in so that in order to sustain. Let me touch a little bit about, let me on my slides now. Let's see whether I have done all this correctly or not. Yes. Six. Right. If you can see my slide, I'm going to share it first. Share, that's it. Okay, boleh nampak Dr. saya punya slide? Boleh, Alhamdulillah. Okay, let me play it now. Okay. Again, these are bits and pieces I gathered over the years about talking about, my work at UPM and UM, and trying to understand better how to go about it. I want to not attack. I want to tackle it from a different angle. Some of you probably, most of you probably would, but come to think of it, is Cik Zakir is going to provide another, what do you call it, another talk about, where to find government grants. I'm not going to talk about that, but instead, I'm trying to instill a different mindset to you all, and how to find a sustainable research opportunity or research grant to make sure that your research opportunity are sustainable. So let me start with this. This one. I don't know whether you've all seen this. Again, I'm open to Q&A. I'm open to questions as and when you want to, during my presentation, or you can have it later. Again, I heard we have about this for 2 hours. So so in between, if anybody wants to ask, pop questions in the chat ke, or nak bertanya pun boleh. Saya, I'm okay with that. So Henry Ford, you all heard of Henry Ford, but little people know actually Henry Ford. A lot of people know Henry Ford for the cars that he make, but he was innovative in differently, or he's known for his innovation from the management perspective for being focusing on division of labor. Ada buku tu, people write about Henry Ford and their success stories, right? Henry Ford created assembly line. So bila let's say a piece of metal jalan on the assembly line, one person will ketuk 2-3 kali or berapa kali, and the machine will go to another, the assembly line will go to another person. So he breaks down the process of assembly line in terms of division of labor in economics to the T. And even some books mengatakan he didn't even allow the workers makan carbohydrate potato because they will go to sleep, you know. So he was innovative in that sense, of innovation of management per se. Not so much for cars, because when he came up with cars back in, can't remember when. Well, when he came up with Model T, his Model T, he what do you call it? Mercedes-Benz already created the cars back then, right? So he didn't invent cars. So, but he's known about the Ford cars, right? So what is he saying here? If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Now, let's break it down into two parts, this quotation of his, right? And it's famous, this quotation all over the internet, right? And he said that if he had known, sorry, if he had asked before he started the car manufacturing, if he had asked his customers or his potential customers, they would have said, Mr. Ford, all I want is a faster horses, right? So meaning that he asked, and the solution what he would have been suggested, right? Of course, but instead, he came up with the cars, right? Now, let's break it down into these two parts of this quotation. One part that he was asking if there was a feedback. Actually, in all totality, you can say that, are you saying Mr. Ford ni brilliant sangat, dia tak payah tanya orang ke? Kan? Is that what the quotation is saying that his brilliance behind it? No, actually, I would like to say there's a deeper meaning to this. One, bila dia dah, sorry my language, I said bila I buat kelas, I always show this slide. I said, but then when Henry Ford said dia dah tua ganyut dah, dia dah, you know, skin already is fading, right? When he asked this question, when he dah tua ganyut dah, he said that I had enough experience to know already what customer want without asking them. Okay, meaning that he had already had experience to start a car company without asking people. So that's what he's saying, the brilliance behind it. But by then he was already like, you know, by the way, he started the car business. I think it was only the most 15 years before Henry Ford was successful, right? The most. It could be less than 10 years. So if he was already like 60 or 70 back then, so he had gone through his life probably 50 years, right? So meaning that he had extensive experience about the understanding the market. Itu satu. Nombor dua, the second part about this quotation is that the hard skill, or the skill of how to build the car, right? So one, what he's saying that he didn't need to have a focus group ke, survey ke, validation ke, testing assumption ke, because he's saying that I knew already what people wanted, and I know the skill of how to solve that problem. I know the skill of it, which is to make cars, and then I build the cars. So there's two parts to it, right? One is that faster horses to replacement of the cars, to replace the faster horses, that hard skill. The other one is the know-how, of the knowing what the customer want. There's two parts of that quotation. Now, what I'm trying to say to you all, now kita ada mekanisme dia, macam mana kita pecahkan dua-dua ni, quotation ni, kita ada mekanisme for you to be this Henry Ford. Meaning that you be able to understand the customer dengan certain methodology and framework, which I'm going to tell you today, of what customer want. Instead of they telling you, they would have just faster horses. And this is also the challenge, as Steve Jobs have said, or not only Steve Jobs, many people have said, actually customers, they don't know what you want. If you ask me also, if I had known what a customer, if I have known what, you know, what do I need for, for a certain product, I probably give some off-tangent idea, right? But actually, the fault is not in me, the fault in asking the right question. Now, that is interesting, because if you ask the right question, I will probably tell you what I need. I will probably tell you behind that answering that statement or that question, I'll probably tell you in deeper analysis of what I need. But on the first line of question, if you say that, what is it that you need, right? Of course, when Henry Ford asked that question, people said faster horses. But in actual fact, what Henry Ford knew, it was people going from point A to point B at a faster rate. Okay. Now, this is what himself, all throughout those 4 years of what do you call it, of living, of that 50 years, 60 years of living, he knew society was advancing very rapidly. And he knew horses, yes, can go from point A to point B, is not so-called scalable. He knew there must be a better way, which is cars. So, and he knew that the solution is building that car. So in this quotation, there's two parts to it. One part is he knew people need to go from point A to point B quickly because of advanced society, blah, blah, blah. And he knew of the solution to build to it, which is building the cars. Now, what I'm trying to tell you, you can be Henry Ford because you, the hard skill, you already know. You all researchers, you tahu dalam domain you know what you're good at, right? Whether you are social science researcher ke, whether you are scientist dalam lab ke, whatever. Hard skill tu, I'm not going to teach you. You all know that. But what you do not know probably now is how to ask that right question so that at the deeper analysis, you know what the customer want. Okay, so I hope you got that the essence behind this slide. Sorry, a bit long-winded. Then this one. Now you can Google this on YouTube. You can go to Steve Jobs with your commencement address and understand this better. But what he's trying to say, the challenge with, not the challenge, the best of entrepreneurs or the best of people, again, entrepreneurs are all problem solvers. So are you. You're all researchers. You are all problem solvers. We are all problem solvers. It's just that we call ourselves entrepreneurship, and some of us call ourselves entrepreneurs because, you know, it is probably you say, oh, it's more value driven. Not necessarily. Some of us become entrepreneurs because we want the money to remain sustainable to help people. That is what entrepreneurship to me. You can call it me as a social enterprise, doesn't matter. But I need the money to sustain my entrepreneurship or entrepreneur business in order to sustain. So similarly, like you all, you need the money to sustain, right? But he said, what he's saying, Steve Jobs, is that the best of all of us, problem solvers, is those who can connect the dots. If you read the quotation, those who can connect the dots. And what he's saying in his, I think if he was a dropout, right? So he, you know, the tour people gave him the the degree in Stanford, and in his speech he's saying that back 10 years before he started, he didn't know the dots. He couldn't see the dots when he built the Apple company, right? But after, you know, after the company built, then he could see the dots, right? Now, so now the question is for you how to connect the dots for the future, right? And that this relates back to the initial slide of how we can connect the dots if we know how to ask the right question and we know the hard skill behind it, which is, you know, like I said, you're all expert to it. So connecting the dots, just like Henry Ford knew how to connect the dots because dia dah tua agaknya, dia kerja, he was living up to 60 years, he came up with the idea, Henry Ford the car, right? But what I'm trying to tell you, even though if you're a young researcher, we have the mechanism of how to connect the dots, you know. But yes, there's a trick to it. There's a framework to it, and actually a lot of people in Silicon Valley, you know, part of outside of Silicon Valley in Europe, they know how to do this already. But it takes a long time, and it's not that easy too. Okay, that's it. Okay, now, oh shoot, what happened to this one? Oh, no, did I? There should be some images here. Okay, there's about three things that I want to say. The traits of successful external grant recipient. Tiga. One is networking. Number dua, what do you call it? You know his hard skill. Number tiga, dia ada ramai co-researchers anak buah dia. Okay. Now let's talk about senior professors lah. Okay. Of course, I'm not saying that you do have to be a senior professor in order to get successful, become successful external grant recipient. You don't have to do that. So, but a typical senior professor in top level university, there are tiga traits. Okay, the way I analyze it lah, after I reading several articles and understanding how universities work and whatnot, right? I'm talking about this is like MIT, Monash universities, Cambridge, Stanford, all these universities lah. If they have a senior professor, there are tiga traits. One, dia punya network is very extensive. Dia sit in this board of director lah, dia advise in this company lah, dia join this particular association ke, or dia prolific speaker in this domain ke. So networking dia extensive. Of course, nombor dua, dia memang tahulah dia punya kerja dalam lab work apa dia nak buat, what kind of research, the vertical apa dalam research tu, he knows. The last one is dia ramai, you can call it kaki tangan lah, or dia punya co-researchers dia yang actually do the work, do the lab work. Dia tak buat lab work. We all know most of these successful senior professors, they don't do the research work. Instead, they akan co-research, dia akan pecah bagi, okay, this group co-research in this group do research in this, and then dia akan panggil one manager or one senior professor or one doctor research do, okay, you do this particular, I get money for this one. So, but hence he has his own set of team. Let's call it a team. I don't want to call it anak buah, I don't call it assistant, let's say a team, right? So they are the two. Okay. Now, of course, some of you might say I don't have a team, but itu boleh cari, right? Networking, you have to, of course, we all have to start building the networking. The know-how, you know already. So a successful, again, I don't have to say this. You all know already. You are all in this domain. You know this part. I mean, you might say that there is trait keempat, ada kelima, keenam, doesn't matter. But to me, these three traits are very important. The networking part, and also particularly the networking part. Now, actually, the networking part, there is no purpose of you networking without you understanding what the other side of the party, the other side of the fence want. If you do not know what they want, then it's a problematic. So this networking part is so important. For you to initiate the networking, you must know what they want. Only then you are able to network efficiently better, right? There's no point of just, I just want to done network, I jumpa this company, I jumpa that company, I jumpa another research body, I jumpa, United Nations punya gang, whatever lah, all that. There's no point unless you know actually what is the purpose of that networking, right? So there's no just point of networking per se. Of course, people like kat TTO office ke, people dekat bahagian jaringan industri ke, or people dekat yang customer interfacing, right? Di bahagian procurement ke, they have to network because it's part of their job. But what I'm asking you to do is to network, but you need to know what is the need of the other party when you network. That's so critical. Okay, that is so critical, and this is what I'm going to talk about today, so that you'll be able to find that sustainable money. So far, berapa slide dah? 4 slide. Oh, am I talking rubbish ke? Faham ke? Kau tak faham ke? You can put a thumbs up ke, or you can, saying that, Cik Zakir, tak faham this slide, or what do you, please give some reaction so that I understand. Okay, Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Dr. Nadira, Dr. Rais. Okay, Alhamdulillah. So this is what is so critical, right? In understanding of the trait of successful grant recipient, right? Okay. This is, again, I found this and I thought it's good to show. The link was so long, but I can provide you the link. Maybe you can provide to you the link now. I don't know. Mana chat. And then let's see whether I can do this. It's such a long link. I thought that you'll be, there you go. It's a PDF. Okay, let's see that. Why did you click that link? This is the paper of the link. Okay, the PDF, it was 2014. But what is important, I just want to say that up to 2014, 2011, the paper was saying, Mara punya, apa tu? A researcher from Mara did this. Up to 2014, the government was giving a lot of money to RU universities, to research universities in Malaysia. But when I joined UPM, Allahu Akbar, bila I joined UPM, I think 2016, I think, or was it 2015? And it was start going down. It was start going down. We all know now, I don't want to say in any, again, government kerajaan have their own reasons why to do this. I'm not trying to, shoot down the government ke apa, but this is a fact of life, right? And even recently, this is the most recent article, March 2021, UK government cut 1 billion research grant to universities. That's a lot of money for you. Of course, they give more than Malaysian government in terms of the UK government give more than the Malaysian government in terms of research grant. Of course, their GDP is higher, right? But 1 billion research grant cut to them, they were already like on Johor kata mengongok tu kan. So this is a typical way of typical, it's a norm now, okay? In terms of government, you cannot depend on it. Again, I don't need to repeat this. Now, let's see. Okay, now, what is this? Now, this is what I'm trying to advocate a lot in UPM and UM and another like UUM also. To do customer discovery before you do the research. Sorry, yeah. Okay, there is two, what do you call it? I call it value chain in line, right? There's two value chain. What the top value chain is, if you want to do customer discovery process sebelum research, sebelum dapat grant. Okay, this is kalau you dah dapat the second line one, second value chain, kalau you dah buat research and the IP, right? Customer discovery. Now here, can I don't know whether presenter view screen, how do I do this? Laser pointer. Okay. Yang this one, customer discovery for startup ialah when when we already have a product, you already have a research idea, you already have an IP, you already have a product prototype, and you do customer. And this is typical in Silicon Valley when we call it customer discovery untuk startup and lean validation when the product tu dah ada, and we do the customer discovery, right? Now, what I am trying to instill in RMC and other universities is to have this before research grant dibentangkan kepada panelis. Okay, so the idea is to ensure that how can you get that grant and hence sustainable over time. And once you get this going 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, you will build that network. You will understand what is the other fans punya need so that your networking can be better. Okay, so this is where I'm trying to get at for the next couple of slides, and I think that will be, I don't know, I can't remember, but probably 20 slides or so, right? So this is what I'm trying to get at. Okay, so there is what I'm trying to tell you all also, there's a framework to this, and there's a trick and tricks to this. All in all, it's about getting the skills right. Okay, again, I know this is theory concept, you can say for now, unless you praktikkan, unless you mahirkan dalam part of your work, then you will understand the tricks and tricks behind it and how you can modify along the way, how you can do it. But the essence of it is understanding what the customer need. Okay, just like what I said about Henry Ford tadi, dia dah tahu, because of his experience in living, people want to go to point A to point B, and he built the solution, right? Which is the car, right? So before you building the solution, you need to understand and discover about the customer first. Okay, so like I said, the idea is to find money for your grant and to make it sustainable. So again, I know in your RMC you probably don't have this, but to me, the way I look at it, the best way for RMC to manage the money better and to make sure commercialization rate, inshallah, more successful, is to ensure customer discovery is done before application to submitted. or before application tu dibentangkan dekat panelis. So, for example, katakanlah, you know, some of you I'm sure duduk dalam some of the grant panel kan, you listen to the presenter of the researcher, presenter cakap, you know, teknologi ni. I would like to hear what is the problem that you're trying to solve. Give one statement, right? And have you validated this statement with at least 5 industry or 5 manufacturers, or the more the better lah, right? And tell me who are the names and what they have said, and apa feedback them, whether the assumption is validated or invalidated. Why I put that sebagai hypothesis is because for us to make it more systematic in understanding whether we validate. Let's say we have an assumption. My assumption is that, I don't know, why suddenly I thought of PM. Let's say my assumption is PM keluar hospital today, okay, after their sakit diarrhea there. That is my assumption. Okay, satu statement. In your research, you turn that into a hypothesis, right? Meaning that whether can you validate that or invalidate that. You go to lab, you buat some experiment based on that assumption, and tengok whether eksperimen tu, whether what you do at lab based on that assumption menjadi ke tak menjadi. Kalau eksperimen kat lab tu tak menjadi, is invalidated lah. Betul tak? Kalau eksperimen tu menjadi, validated lah. So my assumption tadi, I kata, oh, I assume InsyaAllah PM keluarlah hospital today. Now, how do I invalidate that? I can ask the PA, the political sec or political secretary, or anybody lah, or yang tahu, or even the nurses. So one way to validate that is actually for me to turn that into hypothesis. Okay, my assumption. So I say that, I would say as a statement, yes, he went out. Okay, and I validate that. I tanya the nurse, kata nurse betul, kata okay, that is a validated lah. So the hypothesis is validated, meaning that you have to turn any assumption into hypothesis. Instead, if you don't turn it into hypothesis, then it can become very subjective. We all know this, as a researcher, you all researchers. If you don't turn any statement into a hypothesis, whether yes or no, as a test, then it can be very subjective. So I would like to hear as a panelist, I'll say that, okay, have you tested this hypothesis of yours? Give me some numbers. How many have you met? 10 orang ke 5 orang? Out of 5 orang tu, who said validate and who said null and void, whatever lah. Okay, ada. Okay, these are the people. Okay, can you show to me, did you bawa tak all these 5 orang? At least I need to see 5 orang from the industry. What do they say? I want to ask them now, you know, let's say part of the grant criteria lah, they need to bring 5 orang. Okay, Mr. Siu, Encik Ali, betul ke Dr. Rafidah ni bertanya you pasal ni? What do you mean that it has solved this idea of hers can solve your problem? Can you elaborate a bit more? I would like RMC to do that. Okay, and understanding the customer, that the Dr. Rafidah, did I mention Rafidah? Okay, validated dengan Encik Ali, dengan, you know, that Chinese entrepreneur, part of it, right? Again, that is as initial, right? So, and from there, once you get the research grant and get the research, I would like in RMC to know the process continue to make sure the 5 industri tu bukan bekerjasama saja, give a given feedback, the progress of the research to them, and say that, okay, Cik Ali, my research is this so far, you know, this is so far I've done this type, you know, the output might be like this, the criteria of my enzyme going to be like this, whatever, you know, properties, you know, I think that would you be okay tak kalau the range of your product going to be slightly differ by a certain percentage. So as you go along the research, kalau sebagai panelist, I would like to see dalam pecahan atau activities tu, milestone, kat mana you minta feedback daripada researcher pula, daripada industri lagi. And I'm hoping kat RMC part that at the end of it, antara 5 tu akan beli teknologi you. That's the idea. Okay,
Mr. Zakir, there's a question.
Oh, sorry, I didn't show my chat. Yeah, apa soalan dia, Doktor?
This is by Dr. Mina Harun. Okay, do you mean need analysis? Do you mean customer discovery is actually the need analysis? And what is actual process of customer discovery? Tapi actually part of it, Cik Zakir dah.
Okay, memang
Cik Zakir, maybe we can give a layman example ke, for
Okay.
example kan, macam product social science for example.
Ah,
Yeah.
uh,
Idea social science lah.
semalam kita berbual pasal apa semalam?
Is for example, development of performance measurement of SME, for example.
Ya. Kita bicara. Okay, I gave dia semalam berbual dengan Dr. Faizal lah, dengan Cik Azri kan. Cakap, okay, for example, Cik Azhar, Dr. Faizal, Cik Azri katakanlah kita ada taman apa tu, ada recycle community so katakanlah kita kat taman kita perumahan taman kan, whether is apartment ke, whether perumahan taman ke, doesn't matter. And most of us in our taman kata-kata ada recycling committee dekat kat taman saya adalah kan, recycling committee kita pun ada recycling corner tu that we can send for recycle, right? So dia ada committee dia. And then you as a researcher, you're so good in measuring instruments, social science, right? Measuring instrument. And you want to see whether your framework of measuring instrument ni particularly untuk community recycling community tepat tak, betul? So and there's no harm for you to jumpa all this community taman ni, again you are also part of one taman your own, and tanya dia actually what is now you have to understand. Again, the idea is to understand the need of the customer, right? Or the need of the target market that akan mengguna your measurement. So you have to ask them, say that I assume that you need, okay, this is where I'm going to say it's salah. I assume I think that you need a form of measurement to measure how much you're improving or not. How much you're improving in terms of you're managing waste lah, waste to wealth ke, or waste or recycling ke. I assume maybe Cik apa tu? Cik Azri can start kot. I assume that your problem is measurement, the progress of your, what do you call it? Of your recycling center. Katakanlah progress of your recycling center. I assume is that. I bet most likely they will say that's not my problem. Actually, I don't need to measure. But my problem is actually I need to show we as a committee kita buat kerja kita and we have to pass back to our penduduk. That is my problem. My problem, yes, I need a set of measurement. Actually, a set of measurement I can find here. Oh, we are doing this, we can do that, But my problem is actually my penduduk needs to know a more comprehensive way of for me to measure. It's actually nak menyenangkan diri mereka, bukan untuk saya. That is my problem. It's not for me to measure, but my problem is actually I need to serve my taman. Okay, that is my problem. And to them, a set of measurement is so critical. Okay, and I need somehow another not only a set of measurement but a dashboard so that they can see online. You see, meaning that is a solution to what you thought of in earlier might not be comprehensive enough. You might need to add certain things. I do not know. But to me, as an example, I give that I need more than that. It's not only that only. All right. Or probably you already have that, but you need to tweak it to somehow, not to me, but also to the penduduk. So what I'm trying to say is that if I am a researcher, social sciences, I know a little bit of programming, I can buat this, and I have done dashboard untuk committee member like me, I can log in, but instead I have to create my dashboard now for public interfacing untuk taman tu. So I have to tweak a bit, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. The idea is to discover about the customer first. Does that help, Dr. Faizal? So to answer the question just now, is it need analysis now? The challenge with need analysis, if you want to make it so like a statistical like that, itu dah mendalam sangat. You don't need to go that route. If you ask every researcher, and need analysis usually is a social sciences work, right? I'm not saying that, oh, you have to be a social scientist in order to find need analysis. No, you don't have to do that. My method is not tak semendalam. You can do an analysis, but to me, need analysis is an overkill lah. Okay, And that is methodology of need analysis. I know statistically, R curve, all that stuff, right? But actually, the trick behind that, and this is where need analysis can be an overkill. It is understanding the customer. In understanding the customer, it's actually partly got to do with human interaction and psychology. And you need to understand that better. Okay? So ada lagi soalan for now, Dr. Haizal? Cik Azri?
Okay, so far yang tu saja.
Okay, all right. So let's go to the next slide. So you all clear what I'm trying to do? Of course, this customer discovery kat Silicon Valley, memang they have done it towards the end of this so-called value chain, right? But what I'm trying to instill is if you can put in the middle of it or beginning of it, right? You all have seen this. If you all have seen this, I will not go through this. Ada? Okay lah, I'll go through it. Okay. Now, Valley of Death, people know, but meaning that there is a stage where people will try to, what do you call it? Will feel the heat that is more likely that this thing is not going nowhere, right? And usually we say that it's not a valley of death when you duduk seorang in your cubicle in your lab, you find a scientific discovery. And then it get closer to the valley of death when you have a lab model, you show and discuss with more people about your concept, your idea, and your brainstorm and so forth, right? And then when you to present to panelists, to show to more people, discuss with other people, you minta grant, you show to more people, and it's like lagi banyak orang pangkah kan, and so forth, right? Now, what is this trying to say? Yeah, actually, if you by yourself, you're more likely successful. Seorang hidup dalam dunia pun probably you can call it your inventor, your own, right? But the more people you interact with, the idea, not to say diluted, this is where most likely the idea tu tak tepat what the customer want. And that's where most people go to the valley of death because they're not meeting the need of the customer, right? Of course, this is the curve where in terms of the researchers lah. In terms of researcher, in terms of company buat market assessment. Now, what's the difference between here? The opposite of it pula. Katakanlah 2-3 orang buat market assessment, desktop study. And then they discuss business model dengan management dia, discuss with a lot more people, they create a team. The more higher chances of success, the more people they talk about. And that is where a lot of people pangkah a lot of researcher because you all tak network banyak. That's a challenge. You need to go up. There's a term, what we call it in lean startup, we call it get out of the building. You need to get out of the building. You need to network more. You need to talk to people more. And so the more people you network with and talk to people about your ideas, the more you understand of what the need of the customer, and that is important, right? And we all know this, but you need certain methodology. So the next slide, okay, this slide is again, this is what we do at InnoHub, the accelerator dekat UPM, and also in UM. UM is UMDT, in UPM called InnoHub. And currently I'm managing the UMDT program dekat UM lah. So the accelerator only focuses on up to this level saja. Selepas dah ada POC, IP, ada prototype, barulah kita bagi duit 50,000 ke, UPM bagi slightly higher, and then create a team and find more seed funding and market validation. That's what we do. But what I'm trying to do today is actually you need to do it up to here. Before this scientific discovery, that you need to do the customer discovery up here, right? Okay. The other thing is, the hard part is actually being adaptable and the way and pivoting. Okay, the way and pivoting. The mindset 4. Well, this is part of the slide in my class, right? Don't fall in love with the product, right? This is particularly kalau those researchers yang dah ada product, dah ada IP, and you want to do market validation of your research product dah, right? And you are just like me also. I'm an entrepreneur. I create products. What products I create? I have one startup under enzyme. I have products. One startup under e-commerce. So we love our products, right? But the idea is that once you validate and bertanya orang, they give feedback. they give feedback, there's a high chance that you need to adapt and pivot. What do I mean by pivot? The pivot is saying that, okay, there have been cases. I will show you a case study later on, Prof. Rosna and also another startup, that the base IP didn't change. What does it mean? Means that the research, what was research? 10 tahun ke, 4 tahun ke, 3 tahun ke, and file and did the market validation, that IP, that research, we didn't go back. I didn't tell Prof. Rosna and Prof. Raja, Prof, go back to the lab and redo balik and come up with a new IP and come up with a new research. We didn't tell that to the researcher yang create that startup, but instead we change the customer segment, we change the business model, we change how the initial idea is. Okay, so that is what pivoting is. Not necessarily pivoting to you have to change completely the research base. Okay, but of course being adaptable, that mindset, some people is easily to adapt to new mindset, some people slightly more harder. Okay, again, this is what Dr. Faisal was asking, the framework of the three. Eric Ries talk about what do you call that? Eric Ries talk about ideas, and also let me move my to talk about this concept of yes, build, measure, learn. Betul, Dr. Faisal. Build, measure, learn. Tapi dalam, if you Google, dia pecahkan lagi. After you build, and then there's a product, and then you test the product, what you call it, they call it MVP, to the market, and then you measure it, and then you get the data, and then you analyze. From the analyze, do you need to pivot, or do you need to, what do you call it, to adapt slightly, add more features ke, or change target market ke, whatever, and generate more ideas, and you build some more. Okay, you add the extra feature and you think some more. Okay, this is also similar to the concept of kalau walaupun you tak ada product, but it's just a set of questions. For example, I have a set of questions. Saya anggap, my assumption is PM dah keluar hospital. That is my idea. And I built that as a soalan, okay, as a soalan on a paper, right? And I turned that into hypothesis, right, as a product. And then I call the nurse, I call the PA, the political sec, whatever, and then I measure, betul? And then I got the data, right? And then I understand, I analyze. Now, do I need to change my hypothesis again? Tak, the idea part. So, tak semestinya this format must be the harder product. So it can be at a stage whereby you are still a concept level or sebagai satu statement yang is assumed. Okay, so what I'm trying to say at this slide is that I have gone through this many years. With InnoHub and UMDT, there's about 80 startups sometimes call me, over the month, over the week, Cik Zaki, apa cepat, Cik Zaki, meaning that about 80 startups I'm mentoring, so-called, most of the time, almost 100%, I would say 99.91%, we are all wrong about the first initial assumption. Okay, we are all wrong, meaning that apa yang kita cakap tu pasal dari segi what we assume is that we need to have a mindset that high probability kita salah. Okay, that's important. Okay, now this is probably jumping the gun. Okay, you will say that, okay, do I need to come up with a business model ke when I ask about ideas and testing ideas and so forth, right? Do I need to come up with business model? No, you don't have to, but you need to understand a little bit and how this works, okay? So that you will understand that a successful commercialization, you need to understand what is the possibility of that particular product of yours, what the business model might be, okay? Again, there's tons of articles and resources that you can find out, but let me break it down. Okay, this is interesting. We have berapa, Dr. Faisal, kita punya participant?
Nearly 90 lah. Tadi ada 90
Alhamdulillah. Okay, nak tanya semua 90, kalau boleh jawab dalam chat. What do you think, or what do you think Saya dah tanya Dr. Faizal kot masa dalam kelas akad lu. What do you think is the business model of AirAsia? And what do you think, okay, let's touch AirAsia dulu lah. What do you think is the business model of AirAsia? Anybody? Again, salah tak apa, betul, benar bagus kan? Doesn't matter. What do you think is the business model of AirAsia? No, when I say business model, a model kita satu framework, satu methodology. A model, apa dalam framework tu usually you all researchers, right? Apa dalam model tu kalau kita build satu model, ada benda penting saja, betul? Tak ada, kalau benda yang tak penting, it's not part of the model. It can be, but usually ada few things that essence of it lah. That is yang keunikan you punya framework, keunikan you punya model. Ada benda yang penting dalam tu. Now, business model, apa business yang penting untuk AirAsia to be a business? Apa, you can call it department apa department, apa unit, apa processes, apa kerja-kerja aktiviti mereka yang penting for them to be in a business. Nobody? Okay. Dr. Juliana kata low cost, Dr. Juliana kata everybody can fly. Dr. Syaril kata low cost. Prof kata quality and cheap, affordable air travel, cost structure. Now, okay, successful model information system and cost efficiency. Okay. That is the closest so far. Daripada Dr. Matravanan. Okay, Mativanan. Dr. Mativanan, that is the closest to the answer so far I've gathered. Again, you can do a Google search, but the best analysis of business model is for Coca-Cola. Let's talk about Coca-Cola for now, okay? Before and then we go to AirAsia. I think most of us old enough here to know the year Coca-Cola came into Malaysia, right? I mean the period. Coca-Cola partner with FNN bottling company, and FNN distribute kepada kedai-kedai roncit back then, right? And I don't know whether some of you realize this or not. When I was young, this was early late 70s kot, kan? Early 80s. I was astonished. Banyak betul Coca-Cola punya signage dekat kampung-kampung, dekat mana-mana lah kedai roncit, kat jalan, ada je signage Coca-Cola mana-mana when they entered the market, right? And of course that is part of the marketing, right? But what is the analysis behind that? What is the analysis behind that? The things behind that is that we know that, again, Coca-Cola is typical of them. When they enter a country, they don't set up a manufacturing plant, a bottling plant. They always partner with somebody, right? Of course, in Malaysia, it's FNN. Itu satu business model dia. Nombor dua business model dia, of course, delivery, dia suruh that partnering company yang tu deliver for them to the kedai-kedai roncit, right? That's quite evident, the business model. Kalau you baca banyak teks dalam internet, business model Coca-Cola, right? What is not evident is, and through my reading, is that dua perkara. One is they set up a marketing unit, small marketing unit in Malaysia, and very low, dia tak cakap siapa-siapa, that they have a marketing team here, their own people, and they pursue pula, and they go to this kedai roncit, you know. They might work with the FNN, but I bet it's themselves. They go to this kedai roncit, they'll say that, boss, I will change your signage to Coca-Cola, but little bit adalah nama you sikit. I will change your signage little bit, but besar Coca-Cola, and we pay it for free. Okay, we pay it for free. Nak tak? You know, cost this mahal ni, RM3,000 ni. Back then must be much more than that, right? Kalau besar kat kedai dia. Of course, you know, being a kedai, I don't mind, you know, putting it up and put a new signage, right? And they go penetrate semua kampung, semua bandar, Coca-Cola. Maxis does this now, Celcom buat macam ini. It's typical, right? Okay, so that is one important part. The other important part is, what do you call it? That is how they go to market. The trick is the go to market. Then you say that, okay, nanti saya call saya punya partner FNN, letak satu fridge, okay, letak satu fridge atau botol, bawa 2-3 carton, 2-4-5 carton, and we give you for free first, and you can start selling. Of course, there's no point I just put it as signage, right? They need to have inroad also, right? So that is important in go to market, okay, for them. And of course, we started kat kampung dulu, start dah minum Coca-Cola, dah ada delivery, right? So these are important to them. So what are they? They are not syrup maker or syrup, what do you call it? Sugar water seller. They are not syrup seller. What are they? They are actually a marketing engine. That's what they do. They don't manufacture. Betul tak? They are not manufacturing expert. Betul? They are not delivery expert. What are they? They are marketing expert. Coca-Cola. That's my term of their business model back then lah. Okay, sekarang dah berlainan kot. Okay, so again, for Coca-Cola, my analysis, my understanding is that they are so good in marketing, in penetrating, in go-to-market. Back then, late 70s. Coming back by Asia. Business model of Asia sekarang dah bertukar. But when they beli Air Asia plane tu daripada DRP Highcom ke RM1 ke whatever the story kan, Tan Sri Tony Fernandez beli dengan RM1 ke depth laden airplane tu dengan RM1. His business model back then is actually they are an IT business. They are not in low cost airline ticket. They are not in cost efficiency. They are not in the business of affordable air travel. They are not quality and cheap. They are not about that. What I'm trying to say is that if you have all Air Asia department tutup and they're not doing well, what is it that they cannot tutup? Of course, currently they still open some of their units, and dia punya stewardess units still open and all that. But worst come to worst, if they have to tutup all their departments, what is the one unit that they will not close? It's actually their IT department. Can they outsource the pilot kepada orang lain? Boleh, apa salahnya letak logo and another outsource company, and of course they pay the outsourcing company engineering yang suluh-suluh bawa kau terbang tu. Can they outsource? Can. Can they outsource food? Can. Can they outsource, I don't know, branding and marketing? Boleh, if they want to. But IT, in managing the IT and managing data, in understanding that the interactivity, and particularly how they want to ensure the business model, that low cost, and people get excited with that low cost, is the IT that holds. For example, kita nak pergi Bandung, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, dapatlah kita pergi Bandung dalam 12 bulan akan datang. Kalau kita nak pergi Bandung for the next 12 months, kan, it will be cheaper compared to if you want to go to Bandung now. Betul? Now, who keys in that algorithm, that formula? Isn't that the IT department? And you might say, oh, that's a strategy department. Yeah, okay, strategy department, that is Tan Sri Tony Fernandez lah. You would just think about it and say that, okay, give a 60% discount for the next 12 months, right? He could put it on top of his head, right? But the IT department enter that formula, the algorithm, kalau kalau I click 20 kali, right? I don't get that that price, or I click now, I get the price because I want to the schedule for the next 12 months, only the IT department. If you pass that to somebody else, sorry, let's say Tan Sri Tony Fernandez, Asia pass somebody, and the data that people have, you think boleh ke Asia operate? Most likely no, right? And not only that, now the business model have changed. They say that Asia is a bank, meaning that they hold a lot of money, duit 12 bulan, and they roll that they are, a million, multi-million, or probably $1 billion of up to duit yang dia pegang. So dia anjur. Okay, Gardenia Bread. Gardenia Bread is not in the business of bread making. Let me repeat that. Gardenia Bread business model is not in the business of bread making. Yes, they know very well how to make bread, but can they outsource that to somebody else? And pass the formula and sign NDA, disclosure, they don't tell anybody. Ada orang lain, dia letak logo saja atas plastic bag dia, atas roti dia. You think they still can be in business? They can be in business. Quality, they pass to somebody else. Halal certification, they pass to somebody. Marketing, they pass to somebody else. They can do that. But what they cannot do, they are in the business of logistic. Why? Because so far, again, if you analyze the understanding, also currently Grab dengan Uber still cannot do that to assist Gardenia Bread to outsource this to Grab or Uber. If they do autonomous driving, it might be possible. Okay, and lower the cost of maintaining the van, the truck, whatever the delivery vehicle, right? They know that is not so much of it. Maintenance of the is cheaper for Gardenia Bread to maintain their own trucks and deliveries. It's not itu satu je, tapi that's not the main thing. The main thing is the work processes. Actually, about the IT just now is also work processes. Orang katakanlah saya deliver roti ya, kedai runcit satu, kedai runcit satu, kedai runcit, right? Sorry, the work processes and data. Okay, I ask Mamat kat kedai runcit ni, bang, besok minggu depan muffin nak berapa? 2 hari dekat datang roti putih nak berapa? Oh, dia kata tinggikan sikit lah, COVID ni kan, orang nak banyak makan. That is data. Okay, important. If you outsource that to somebody else, tutup Gardenia besok. Nombor 2, that work processes that you know, one route to another route, satu kedai runcit ke satu kedai runcit kepada ke supermarket mana yang penting tu, that is also dia orang punya, you can call it IP lah, trade secret lah, whatever you want to call it, right? So they are in logistic business, right? Will one day they don't need that business model? Maybe. Like I said, so what is that? Could that be? I don't know. Could they be just an IP holder? We do not know, right? So any soalan about this? Okay, you might say that what's the purpose of this whole business model canvas? This business model canvas will say that every sections of it interact one another. But, and this is the trick about business model canvas also, you boleh brainstorm sampai nak gerak pasal business model canvas. Apa customer segment, apa customer relationship, apa key partners, apa key activities. But if you don't understand how the interaction connect to one another on what is that fundamental, you can call it unit or department or work processes or data, then the business model is nothing but just an assumption or just good for public to see. But actually you keep it to yourself. Like you don't tell that behind that, right? So I call it, we layer the business model, multiple layers, and the multiple layers too are the work processes and the data, work processes and data for this unit, for this unit. Anyway, that's another way of looking at it. Okay, sorry to bore you about that. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Where is this? Okay, I just want to say, just like Gardenia Bread and AirAsia and Coca-Cola, the syrup, sugar water, your product is not your business model. What do you call it? Your product is not your product, but actually your product, the overall business model is your product. What I'm trying to say is that don't ambil satu perkara saja. The roti, that is my business model, or cost efficiency, that is my business model, or brand, that is my business model. Actually, overall interaction is because, for example, the data, how you handle the data, the processes behind that data, and there could be other parts also, right? I mentioned just now about the cost maintenance of maintaining the van, all that, right? That is important, right? Of course, there is data and work processes behind the business model of Coca-Cola. Tadi dia cakap their go to market and how they approach the tu kan. So overall the interactions is important to the overall business model canvas, and how, again, why I'm trying to say this is that you need to be aware when you bertanya dengan, let's say, pihak industri, boss, I assume you have this problem, because I think I have a solution to it. I want to do research about it, right? That right. At the back of that, the entrepreneur yang mendengar tu atau manufacturer yang mendengar tu, they might have a business model, and whether your overall solution to fits in this overall business model dia ke tidak. But on set, yes, you have to solve his problem first, right? That's important. Right. Okay, so this is okay. So the idea is that the other mindset is that startup need to understand business model for all type of business. Okay. Okay. This is a case study. Prof. Rosna set up a company called Machine Solutions, Number Hut. Prof. Raja set up a company called Zameretics, Number Hut. Prof. Rosna punya IP patent is di satu mesin yang boleh proses fresh berries atau lada fresh, buah lada pedas, buah lada yang dekat Sarawak tu, I mean, now not only Sarawak, Johor pun ada, dekat North pun ada, Perak pun ada kan. Uh, dia fresh berries tu dia macam dia gesir lah dengan PU, and then that equipment is patented under UPM, right? So she licensed that technology and now she's commercializing that technology. But when she entered InnoHub atau market value, I mean the accelerator program, all she wanted was to become a manufacturer selling this machine. Manufacture lah, dia beli teknologi daripada UPM, dia akan tu. So after the market validation, we discovered that she needs to have all these processes in line in order to solve the need of the customer. Okay, let me give you a background. The customer that she is involved with in selling the pilomatic machine, they call it pilomatic machine, this that grind the fresh berries, right? They are kebanyakan 90% of them orang pedalaman, Iban, orang, the natives dekat Sarawak, Sabah, right? And their income bracket is very low. So they need an assistance. Tekun ada 50,000 tekun tu kan. They need an assistance to beli the equipment, currently cost about within below 20,000, okay, the equipment. So, but still expensive, right, for them, right? But it will increase the productivity, it will increase the quality of the peppers, the white pepper, and blah blah blah, all the other feature. I mean, good comprehensive set of the value that they can get lah. And of course, apply SME Corp part of big grant, third party services, of course, meaning that in order for the what do you call it, Sarawak pepper farmers to, they need to set up an enterprise. Okay, and of course preparing for machine and parts replacement too is part, right? But little that Dr. Rosna and Jamie is a CEO, anak buah Dr. Rosna yang buat PhD, little that Jamie and Dr. Rosna knew that they have to create this department of assisting. Actually Jamie lah yang buat, membantu juga kan dengan dia punya staff, cari tekun assistant, grant and all that, in order to assist them, because they want the machine. Of course, they would know that actually, come to think of it, about market validation, on and on, actually we don't have enough money. So, but the overall solution, they need to think about it also, right? Now, then comes with Zameretics. Zameretics pula, Prof. Raja, protease and lipase enzyme, that some of you in biotech, you would know Prof. Raja and her work very well. So she has these two core product IP, and she licensed it. And all she thought was she wanted to become an enzyme producer, right, or manufacturer. But little that she knew that the target market that nak guna enzyme, whether it's bread manufacturer ke, whether detergent, the small medium scale industries detergent manufacturer ke, little that she knew that they don't know how to use enzyme. They heard of enzyme, how to use dalam proses untuk buat bread ke, untuk detergent industry ke. They heard about it, but they don't know. Actually, some of them bought enzyme from Novozyme and the big companies, receive, but dia tak tahu tu pakai macam mana, berapa scoop, berapa milligram, berapa liter, whatever, and so forth, right? So she needs to provide a service whereby she needs to understand the target market, come up with a proposal paper, and do field improvement study for 3 bulan, and to test the particular formulation, and then after that they approve, only then they will continue to buy the enzyme from Prof. Raja. Okay, so now I'm saying this overall 2 case study as an overall business model. You don't have to do that, but you need to be aware, as particularly if you do want to do startup lah. If you want to be aware that, mind you, when we say that you need to be adaptable and understand, when you talk to a recipient yang want to support your grant or your money, you need to understand that, all be all is not just about your product. Okay, there's more to it. This is a fail one. One researcher came with one product. She came in, but it was already too late. When we analyze it, there was she was going all over the place with target market. She wanted to target this particular target market. She wanted to get this, but based on her berries that she tested for, breast cancer again. She's in faculty, or she was in faculty of medicine. So, but there's a lot more. But what I'm trying to say in this particular slide is that she didn't do her market validation, or she didn't do testing her assumption when she came up with the product, or even after the product when she was trying to commercialize it. Right. So this is what the mindset shift ni. Customers don't care about your solution, they only care about their problems. Meaning that when you want to find your research grant to, you have to put, that's what the people said, you have to put yourself in their shoes. When you put yourself in their, Dr. Faizal, saya rambling ni, pukul apa dah? Berapa minit lagi dah?
Kita ada lagi, tak apa boleh teruskan. Kita sepatutnya ada 1.5 hour lah.
Oh, okay. Berapa minit? Tak, I don't want to
10 minit lagi. 10 minit
Oh
lagi.
my God, 10 minit lagi. Okay.
Apa, it's okay.
Right. Okay. Let me try to be quick. Okay. So they don't care about your solution. Meaning they don't care about your concept. They don't care about your idea. They don't care about your research. All they care about how you can solve their problem. So that, like I said, when a senior professor tu tahu tu, he doesn't go when he does networking. Oh, I have this brilliant, research concept and idea. I can do this. I can do that. I can do that. He doesn't go that way. But instead, he has a set of assumptions that they tahu that apa the problem that he needs to test when he network. And of course, he doesn't test apa tu by asking like how we ask in market validation. I assume you have this set of problems, right? But instead, over the years too, he can formulate and formalize and analyze just like Henry Ford did. Dah 50-60 tahun hidup, he put it in one statement. They need to go from point A to point B very fast, right? And you need to be in their shoes to understand their problems. But in understanding their problems, they will not tell you directly what is their problem. So you have to understand, and there's a trick behind that. Now, this is link canvas. You don't have to follow this, but the idea is you break it up. There's one researcher tanya saya, Cik Zakir, saya dah buat landing page. Saya dah buat landing page, saya nak test. Kan? So, what he did wrong to me, what he did wrong was he tested the solution but instead he should have tested the problem first. Don't test the solution, test the problem first. That is why they break up the boxes sebegini, Ashmara punya link canvas. Meaning that you test the problem dulu, and then once you confirm the problem is there, and then you build your MVP or landing page or whatever concept that you want to do. Let's talk about TRL in a while, and then only then you build the solution, you build the MVP landing page, only then test that. Okay, dia macam gini. Kita ada TRL we all can imagine TRL, no need for me to go through that, you all expert in this. TRL 1, idea, betul? TRL 2, you might write some formula, you might do some desktop study, you might do some framework punya thinking, right? That is your concept, right? And how you want to to solve that, what do you call it? That idea TRL 1 tadi. TRL 1 hanya konsep dalam minda, betul? Atau you could write on a piece of paper, this is I'm trying to solve this problem. I'm trying to overcome this this problem. TRL 2 or 3, you come up with a concept, theory. TRL 3, you ambil wire ni, you ambil wire tu, you ambil ingredient ni, very crude, you test dalam lab. Okay, aku test ni. Very crude, right? That is probably you want to test. What I'm trying to say, from TRL 1, you test tu dulu dengan customer. Once you dah jumpa 20 orang, 30 orang, 5 orang ke berapa, of course, the bigger the market, the more people that you need to test, right? Your sampling size cannot be small, right? and only then you move to TRL 2. Okay, and then you tunjuk orang. Okay, bos, ni IP ya, jangan tunjuk orang. Padahal mana dia tahu pun kan, not that he's bother. Bos, ini konsep saya buat macam gini, framework saya sini macam gini, the output gonna be like this. Kalau output tu macam gini, okay tak? Sebab last 2 weeks, I asked, you're one of the 50 people I asked. You kata you ada pain point ni. Sekarang saya dah come up with MVP or konsep saya punya desktop study little bit. And based on this desktop study saya, konsep saya, desktop konsep saya, and saya saya fikirkan the output will be like this. This enzyme akan ada this property, enzyme akan ada this. Saya belum cuba lagi dalam lab. Tapi property ini saya akan solve this problem. What do you think? Test per TRL. You're following, yeah? That's what I'm trying to get at the Edge Powder punya link canvas. The per boxes, the test per boxes. Okay? And that is where banyak coaches salah in their thinking, in their teaching. Oh, let's brainstorm business model canvas. Oh, let's brainstorm, lean model canvas. And then, okay, let's test semua boxes. One go. Matilah macam itu. Mana boleh kan? So you don't do that. Okay. So I hope you understand. I'm trying to break it down in terms of, again, sustainability and how you go step by step, right? Once you have that, the idea is the problem and solution is identified. This is where, to me, RMC need to be presented this way. Meaning that I have tested my assumption dengan 50 orang. This is the concept. Ni 5 orang ni. Mr. Ali, Mr. Akau. Berdepan dengan saya bertanya, daripada 50 orang, saya bawa 5 orang ni. Customer and the problem and solution identified, validated. Is match. Okay. And I want to do research. Okay. RMC please bagi duit. Kalau RMC tak ada duit, RMC please approve. 5 orang ni kata dia nak bagi duit. Matching grant. Boleh tak? Research collaboration. Okay. And that is how you go about. My God, such a long-winded explanation. Okay, you could have come to this in one slide at the beginning, right? I could have come to that too. So the idea is you have a customer and also now there's a challenge when people say that how about business model canvas? Business model canvas tak ada solution. Business model canvas tu ada tengah. Business model canvas ni dia punya laser pointer ni. Dalam value proposition ni ada problem statement. Okay? Dalam value proposition ni ada problem statement and a solution statement. It match to the customer segment. So the match lah macam ni. Okay? So it's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. So when we were taught by when dulu biotech corp, this couple Mak Saleh and come from Silicon Valley and understanding of how, so meaning that we need to match is a go or no go, what they call it, right? Right. So so far people faham, you all faham tak up to now what I'm trying berceloteh ni? Faham? Good? Yes, no? Prof Kozira, oh my God, Prof Kozira was around. Okay, thank you. Ada yang nak bertanya? Ada question ke? Dr. Azri, do we have any questions for now? I don't know how many slides left.
So far tak ada question, tapi I think this is a very crucial punya part which I think researchers should know lah. Right. Especially to instill the mindset of commercialization at the beginning of the research. So right. Even though the C is not started in written, but in mindset, the C should be instilled at the very beginning phase of the research tu, the peringkat ideation tu. So itu yang penting, yang kita nampak kan. Yeah. So maybe I have one question, Cik Zakir. What's the difference between lean model canvas? Lean canvas model and also business model canvas. So what is the difference between those two?
Ini as you can see is very detailed. Dia pecahkan problem and solution. Okay, tapi dalam business model canvas tak ada problem and solution. So dalam business model canvas, kalau you pakai business model canvas, you kena assume tengah tu dulu, value proposition dulu. Let me go straight this one. You kena assume You can assume this one first. This one. You can assume this one first. Apa value you nak bagi kepada the user, the research, the product user atau your research product user atau the end user, right? What is the value statement that you need to assume and test? Dalam value statement tu ada what is the problem and also solution to it. So in one statement ada actually in value proposition we always relate to the benefits. Again is ni mendalam sikit lah, meaning that you don't say the value proposition, the problem is this and the solution is this. That is wrong value proposition statement. Jadi ada value proposition statement, ada benefits. In the benefits you will relate to the features and functions. Okay, maksud dia for example like this. Katakanlah saya keluarkan satu produk tinted glass, plastic tinted glass yang ada feature dia is fibrous. Kalau nanoscale, the plastic tinted glass untuk kereta tu based on fiber punya material, and the feature is that it will it will reduce this UV light by 100%, katakanlah, and that is a feature, and the function is that bila matahari kena that plastic tinted glass tu, the fiber will work and it will function. So I mentioned feature and function, it works, right? And we all love about our feature and function, how we work with our product, right? Kita explain in very detail, right? What is a feature and what is function. Now, actually, what is the benefit? In publication I baca, it will reduce cancer punya skin by, it will reduce cancer skin by kalau kena sun. Katakanlah, that is a benefit. You need to put the benefit in the value proposition. Orang yang mendengar value proposition, dia tak nak mendengar features and function. Tapi when you're explaining that some value proposition, you have to explain actually the feature is this, the function is this. That is how my concept is. Now I want to test with you, right? Of course, dalam lean model canvas dah ada problem statement. That's why pakai lean model canvas senang sikit sebab you boleh test directly. You tak payah test value proposition. Sebab value proposition can be get very diluted and it's hard for you to explain in depth.
Okay. Satu lagi, Mr. Zakir. So, I read somewhere over the internet kan, lean model canvas is good for startup yang masih lagi baru, yang masih lagi, even for researcher, I guess. For researcher, it's good. Compare with BMC. BMC is more like for established or more established enterprise. Is that correct?
No, that's not right. To me, we use dekat TNB kita pakai, to me lah, again, we don't use extensively, but at back my head, I always lean model canvas. I sketch in my head, to that. So it works very well also for big enterprise lean model canvas because I understand the breakdown of components where you need to test, what are the things I need to test. So tak semestinya doktor. So memang betul startup banyak pakai lean model canvas, tapi to me business model canvas tu is good if you want to tell people dengan secara not secara rambang but as further away, because not to say that if you share lean model canvas you would tell people your IP or your trade secret or whatever. For example, like I said, the trade secret of Gardenia bread is logistic. That is why bukan senang nak buka bread company ni. Hanya recently Mosimo suddenly buka, and Mosimo pandai, dia punya logistik luar daripada, they are more stronger dekat luar Klang Valley kan. So tak semestinya you reveal your trade secret in the lean model canvas. Yeah. Okay. Any other question? Let's go to the next slide. So what is this? No, this is just testing. Again, I'm just showing it to you, the components that usually what we test. But to me, you just need to test this saja. Okay? Assume, ada andaian, turn it into hypothesis, and then that is TRL 1, right? And then once you dah, apa tu? again, the more people you talk to, you network to, and testing your hypothesis at TRL1, like the better, right? And then come up with a solution, right? Then that solution is TRL2, and the concept, your methodology, your framework, your formula, whatever. And you need to understand that formula, that framework, that your your solution behind it. What is the feature? What is the, again, Google function, feature, benefit table. Function, feature, benefit table. Okay. When you understand your TRL2 tu, what is the benefit, what is the feature, what is the function, then it's easier to tell when you test TRL2 tu with your customer, okay, the benefit of it that I'm going to cover is this eventually. What do you think? Tepat tak? Because it will solve your problem. You know, and then once you test that, move to TRLT. To only then you test you network how you're gonna find the money lah, right? Meaning that you know, you spoke to the all industry. You know, actually I'm looking for a research research funding too. Would you prepare, you think that we can do this and do research collaboration with my university, you know, but you support me with this amount of money, you know, and you can own 50% of the IP, right? Or you can own 100% of the IP, it doesn't matter, it depends on university, right? So that research collaboration is a must lah. So you must understand, of course, I'm hoping that the companies that you talk to, they are willing to, they have the money and they put in 200,000, 300,000, 1 juta, whatever amount, right? And to do your research work, so that later on you already sign, and RMC manage that money, and you go about in your research funding, right? Okay, I will not go through this. So again, start with customers and their problem. Brainstorm possible customer. You might say that, is it easier if I start brainstorming from the perspective of, I know my customer already, but what will be their pain point? Boleh juga, you can do that, right? And you need to understand if you have that particular, you see, for us, is always a point of failure when you know your product and you want to test your product. It is best to brainstorm a possible set of customers and what problem they have. Don't start with your product in mind, but start with the problem in mind. Okay. So let me repeat that again. Don't start with your product in mind, but start with an assumption what the problem of the customer first. Only then you work backward. That TRL 2, 3, you come up with a solution, you know. Okay. And why I say it's always a point of failure. You think that you betul there's a problem. That's why you came up with the product. Okay. Padahal, like I said, most of us are wrong. We have to ask the customer first. That's why don't start with the product, right? When you said start with product, you came up with the solution, right? To come up with the product, right? Oh, let me test TRL 3 and 2 dulu. But you didn't go with TRL 1 to test, right? So segment, okay, for example, why this bullet number 3, right? Split broadcasters into, katakanlah you are into, let's say I'm a manufacturer in Pampers, diapers, right? And most of my customers complain baby rashes, buntut baby itu semua ruang panas selalu, betul? How am I going to solve this problem, right? Banyak sangat my Pampers ni jadi udara tak masuk ke apa ke, tapi I need serapkan air tu juga, right? So hence my customer segment become very niche, you know. I have customers yang banyak baby backside dengan rashes. That is my customer segment, right? And drill it down, and then from there you know that is a pain point, and then you go backwards how to solve it. You pakai material ni lah untuk sedut air banyak tapi boleh bernafas lah, ada udara, ada material, I don't know what, you know. So what I'm trying to say is find the customer segment and niche it, niche as best as possible also, so that is more targeted, right? I put everyone in the same camp. This is talking about brainstorming lah. So brainstorm on one lean canvas, could be all one customer segment, right? So don't rush the solution. Okay. When I the last 2 bullets ni, actually, first brainstorm the problem box and the customer box dulu. Don't brainstorm the solution. I just said just now, the other day, just now I said that TRL 3, TRL 2 is technically solution box, right? So you are thinking, okay, if they have the problem, I can think about the solution. You can do that, but it might be biased on your side too. So, okay, right. CR1, PR1, this is I took a screenshot of the boxes lah. Okay, what is this just now? Identify customer, try focus on early adopters. Okay, remember the word early users. Your objectives defined. Okay, and then, this is interesting. Let's go back here. The alamak tak ada. Dia ada one section kat bawah ni. If you Google, ada. What am I saying? Existing alternative. This one. This is so critical. Even up to at TMB side, we talk about this. How to come up with try to understand existing alternative. Okay, in existing alternative, you have to know what is it out there that people have currently is solving their problem or partially solving their problem. In understanding in that, it's easier for you to come up with a solution and your problem statement, right? Let me go back here just now. Here, CR1, right? This one, existing alternative, right? In understanding the existing alternative is to know, for example, katakanlah, I don't know, Pampers. Let's talk about Pampers just now, right? Kebanyakan mothers, in order to hilangkan ruang panas, dia letak some Nivea, let's say, apa tu, cream apa tu, yang gelatin tu, petroleum cream tu, some cream lah, petroleum cream yang hilangkan ruang panas, right? They might, let's say they rub with olive oil, let's say olive oil. People rub with olive oil, baby bottom yang ada rashes after guna Pampers, right? Now, if that is the existing alternative, that gives you an idea what to do research on, right? Olive oil punya ingredient, right? And to put in your Pampers, to put in your product, Pampers product, you want to call it, right? And so again, so in understanding the alternative. Number 2, in understanding the alternative, is understanding setakat mana they are prepared to pay for. For example, katakanlah this is Zamanetic punya kerja, dia ada enzim yang boleh pecahkan minyak, right? Currently, palm oil mill pecahkan minyak, pome tu, yang dekat tanah tu, dia pakai chemical. And chemical tu 1 tan dia spray minyak dalam sebulan, katakanlah RM2,000. Katakanlah RM2,000. Prof Raja have to make sure produk dia not more than RM2,000, or kalau boleh lesser, for them to adopt and change. So in understanding the existing alternative is so critical, so that you know that your cost, macam mana boleh fit in, all that, and come up with more research idea is so important. Okay, so brainstorm on the customer, of course, early adopter, and also existing alternative. Early adopter is important, but only when important later on when you go to market. But this is what, again, I will give you the slide later. You can look at this. Okay, I think this is the last few slides. This slide is so important that I need to tell you all. Some of you have seen this, some of you might not have seen this. This is by Jeffrey Moore, and they call it technology innovation life cycle in his book, Crossing the Chasm. Chasm tu jurang lah atau longkang lah kan. What he's saying is that in his book, in dalam dia punya study, dia kata kebanyakan technologies cannot cross the chasm and mati kat situ je. I mean, it didn't go to market and it didn't become famous. Macam Newton, iPad lah, macam we all know banyak technologies lah, kereta yang yang canggih lagi ke whatever, what all sort of technologies, right? Even Amazon came up with a handphone lah, whatever, and so forth, right? So meaning that in his study, banyak technologies, electronic technologies lah, his study, right, didn't cross this chasm. Not only that, okay, let me go a step backward a bit. Everett Rogers came up with this bell curve. Everett Rogers did a study on the corn farmers back in Iowa. This is 1970s, 1980s, earlier than that probably, 1960s, right? And he discovered dalam corn farming ni, Everett Rogers is a researcher. Everett Rogers saw that there are 3 types, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 types of people in adopting fertilizers in corn farming back then. Okay, fertilizers. Of course, in fertilizers pun, corn farming fertilizers pun ada teknologi kan. Teknologi move from one year to another year, new technology, new fertilizers as time goes by, right? What he studied was that majority of people at the peak of this curve, most of them use fertilizer yang brand jenama yang famous. Kebanyakan mereka, farmers ni back then. Okay, just like us. Okay, kebanyakan kita guna brand handphone yang Samsung ke, Apple ke, Huawei ke, yang famous lah, majority, right? Itu what he discovered. Okay, tapi ada juga yang pakai, yang guna fertilizer yang modern, yang baru keluar 2-3 tahun yang lepas, and they call innovators, right? They call innovators. And ada juga yang pakai fertilizer yang lama sikit, bukan yang terbaru, yang lama sikit, they are called early adopters. Okay, tak ramai, tapi early adopters, right? Now, so that was his study, and he broke it down into two. And this was corn farming. Again, you Google, I did extensive reading on this. You Google, you can do Everett Rogers, and then Jeffrey Moore took the study for electronic industry. And he said that his study was late 80s, I think, or throughout 80s, 90s lah. And his study saying that memang betul Everett Rogers cakap in technology industry, chip making and printer and all these electronics pun ada this bucket, okay? But I want to introduce this concept of closing the chasm. Okay, now this is super important for you to understand. When you have a startup, when you want to advise your your people who wants to adopt it, you need to understand that, boss, you want to buy my technology, you need to understand there's a chasm that you need to cross, whether you can cross it or not. I hope you can cross it lah, right? Let's take a concept, an idea of my analysis and my understanding of how iPhone users became so successful when it first came out. We all know our smartphone, kalau kita pinch, kita boleh zoom in, kita boleh click the link, it go to a browser, we can read the internet, we take it for granted already, right? Do you know that BlackBerry, siapa yang dah tua macam saya ni dulu pakai guna BlackBerry, Dr. Asri muda, Cik Asri, Dr. Faizal muda, Cik Asri muda lagi kan, tak pernah pakai BlackBerry. Dulu pakai BlackBerry, it was so difficult for us to click a link on the SMS ke, or BlackBerry Messenger tu, for us to browse on the internet. We have to scroll dengan the apa tu ball bearing yang mouse tu, we have to scroll, and even to read the PDF and attachment link of email was so difficult. Now, back then when the late Steve Jobs came up with the iPhone, feature dia 2 je, 3 the most. Make calls, boleh SMS, dulu tak ada Messenger, tak ada WhatsApp kan, boleh SMS, boleh email, 4 lah, 4 sorry, make phone call, boleh SMS, boleh baca email, and boleh browse on the internet. Betul? Of course, kat situ ada 3G, 4G lah kan, belakang dia 4G, 3G lah. And he knew in browsing the internet was so critical, and linking from that link, from the attachment, from the SMS and email tu, nak tengok the attachment tu is so critical that he want to make sure this is one of the feature that there's no other feature that he needs to focus on. And that solved the BlackBerry user. Now, actually, yang ber-queue kita kat sini duduk dengar, pahalnya ada orang ber-queue kan, keluar daripada iPhone Store, Apple Store dulu, menjerit-jerit happy kan, kenapa kan? Of course, it could be a setup, it might not be a setup, but whatever it is, they were users of BlackBerry. Actually, back then also ada Windows Mobile phone. Windows Mobile back then had the same problem dengan BlackBerry, hard to internet browsing and read apa tu attachment, So these are the group of people that Steve Jobs sent prototype kepada mereka. They test, say play around with it for 1 or 2 months, or a couple of weeks. We are going to launch, You want to buy, queue lah, or we give you discount. That is one of the marketing department dia buat. Okay, meaning that they test the prototype kepada mereka dulu and ensure that early adopters. Who are the early adopters? BlackBerry users and Windows Phone mobile users, right? And they want to browse on the internet on the mobile phone, right? On the mobile phone, and they pass the prototype and they make sure the marketing department communicate with them, work with them, and make sure they love the product and feature to perfect. They say queue. Once that launch, you know what is the marketing department punya what? Their role, my words, they beat the drum, Apple-nya drum, as hard as possible. Through what? They will tell yang Q ni, I will interview you. No, actually, I will get a blogger to interview. I will get this newspaper to interview. I will get this YouTuber to interview you. And I will ask somebody else to tweet about you. And all that meletup lah. The marketing arm, meaning that they beat as hard drum as possible. They didn't do it themselves. They asked other people to do it. At the end, early adopters makin ramai. Sampailah early majority macam kita terikut-ikut nak beli iPhone, baca dalam internet. Right, because the proliferation of the content is so huge on the internet. Of course, the feature also solve our problem. Kita pun terikut. Of course, saya tak pakai the latest iPhone. Wait, no, that's not true. Alhamdulillah, saya pakai latest iPhone. So, but back then, couple of months ago, last year, I was using iPhone 7, you know. Okay. Padahal iPhone 12 dah keluar kan. So what I'm trying to say is that a lot of people will come down to you, say that, Allah, researcher, prof, doctor, go to market is not that simple, you know. Yes, it's not that simple, but it will solve this problem. You need these techniques too, how to jump the chasm. I already told you the trick, huh? Again, doing it is not as easy as just being said, but it is possible. All right. Oh, MR1 existing solution. I mentioned about it. This is a trick, not trick. This is where the need analysis tak pecahkan the trick of questioning people. Okay, how do you tell a story? You rank the problem, explore customer review, wrapping it up, and document. Meaning that you assume, right? Katakanlah again, you know, I assume PM left the hospital, right? So I had to set in context in doing the interview. Oh, that's the other thing I forgot. I should have put in the slide. This is another trick. You don't have to do all this. You can get your student to do all this. Okay? You need to have a set of structure and tell your student, I don't care what you do. You need to find on the internet. You kena jalan one kilang to another kilang. I want information. I want data only. So, but you set the structure for them, for the student. Okay, you cari 10 manufacturer, you cari 10 manufacturer, this is the assume, this is the test I need you to test, this is the cost assumption I need to test, you pun sama, okay? But let's do a mock-up interview. So this is a mock-up interview. Identify apa tu, saya dah, okay cik, saya daripada UUM, saya nak buat research, saya bukan nak menjual. Okay, so that kind of context is important. Collect demographics. You know, what are demographics? Tell a story. You know, what in terms of context lah, what you trying to solve, right? And then test the assumption and rank the problem. Actually, ranking problem too can be a bit biased. You have to be careful with it. And then explore the customer. Let the customer say that, oh, my problem is actually Don't bertanya saja. Don't let your student membuat pertanyaan banyak. Let the potential customer tell the problem that he is facing, you know, so that and recorded format tu you boleh dengar kan, wrap it up, hook, and then document result. Again, this is where, like I said, the challenge with statistical need analysis, not understanding and listening to the potential customer or the problem, it doesn't come out in that need and a typical need analysis statistically. Masya Allah. Itu saja. Kalau ada soalan.
Okay, any question from the floor?
Oh,
Panjang
my God, Dr. Azlina was here too. Apa tu? She left already. I think we had Dr. Azlina. Oh, sorry, Dr. Azlina Kamarudin. I thought Dr. Azlina Arifin from Mosti, KSU office. Okay, sorry, Dr. Azri.
Okay, ada soalan on the floor?
Ada tanya apa-apa? Again, I'm sure I am okay if you want to connect me through LinkedIn. Email saya Dr. Azri, Dr. Faizal, Cik Azri boleh bagi. You want to chit chat pun boleh. Saya tak ada masalah.
Mungkin kalau tak ada orang tanya, mungkin saya boleh tanya kot.
Boleh?
Cik
Boleh.
Zakir, kalau pergi kat slide, ada satu slide tu, yang ada pangkah-pangkah business model tadi tu.
Satu slide pangkat-pangkat bisnes model yang mana ada tu?
Ada business model yang pangkah-pangkah tu. If you can go back and explain a bit.
Yang ni.
Nak atas lagi.
Ni.
Lagi atas lagi, sikit.
Yang ni.
No, not that one. You please go. Okay ni. Ini.
Ni.
Number 9. Number 9.
Number 9. Oh, okay.
Number 9.
Oh, okay. Now, what is this? This is dalam Ashmara punya book. Dalam dia kata you test sorry?
Maybe you can explain a bit about what
yang pangkal-pangkal kan. This is one column tu dia macam satu sesi lah atau satu satu period. Meaning that you put all the assumptions all in the boxes, bukan empty ya. And then you have to in one sitting you kata kalau I ada 1 2 3 4 5 customer segment, right? Based on customer segment 5 customer segment, 5 canvas. Okay. In now I will decide I don't want to do customer nombor 1 dan nombor 4. I want to focus hanya dan 3, 2 dan 5 dulu. I will take these 3 canvas. Okay. Tapi semua dah isi lah. I mean, mainly isi the problem box dan customer box. Problem box, customer box. Some customer, like I said, problem dia berlainan kan. Some customer problem dia berlainan kan. So, what I'm trying to say is that one column tu, you nampak ada yang this one. Yang this one ni. Betul? You do one sitting, you brainstorm all the customer segments and their problem, and you might come up with 5 posters. Betul? Each one a very niche customer lah. Let's say Pampers with baby with rashes. This one baby with yang dia punya masalah. Something else about Pampers. Something else about Pampers and so forth, right? But in one sitting you kata, I don't want to focus on this customer segment. I don't want to. Again, it is all up to you. You kata, this is difficult customer segment nombor 1. I think it's hard for me to test this problem, you know. Nombor 4 also, I cannot do this. This particular problem, the solution is this. It's very hard for me to come up with this. It's not within my capacity. I don't have the resources. You might pangkah 1 dan 4. Kan like that. And then, yang merah ni pula, katakanlah you testing the problem box, right? It's not green, but instead it's red. What does it mean? Means that your assumption salah. Okay? You assume for that customer segment, like say this customer segment, right? You testing this assumption and kebanyakannya is invalidated atau assumption for the problem box tu salah lah. Sebab yang ujung ni problem kan, problem box ya. And you test this assumption salah. Again, like I said, don't test the channel box yang merah kecil ni, but test the box. So, as you go along, right, you say that, okay lah, then I modify this problem box into something, to another statement, okay, another assumption. Then let me test that, and then it become green. Ramai orang support this green, okay. And then katakanlah, okay, this one salah, let me change this problem statement into something else. Now I go to this stage, or this, they call it this sprint lah, or this period, right? Let me test a new problem statement pula. Apa menjadi? Rupanya tak menjadi kali kedua. Tak apalah, aku pangkal lah di customer segment totally. You know? Okay. Tapi ini jalan kan? This become green, and then I test this one lah. I test this one is invalidated lah. Let me move here. I will change this statement for this box, right? Yang kat sini. I change this statement for the solution box. Let me test that. It become green. Okay. Then apa yang red lagi? What do I need to modify and pivot and adapt that statement? Until this customer segment is the customer statement of my choice and all of the assumptions validated. That's the idea. Okay.
Thank you very much. So any more questions from the floor?
We can learn more from UPM through InnoHub. Perhaps learn through specific coaching. Boleh, Dr. Arifin, insyaAllah. Successful well-known companies
Okay,
have...
ada soalan from Dr. Herman. Okay, Dr. Herman is the director of UTEM UCC. Will you give example of successful, well-known company that use the concept of LMC, Lean Model Canvas?
Well, have you heard of this product, Remedy, by Prof. Lai? She was InnoHub, so she used Lean Model Canvas. Of course, Prof. Raja also dapat MTDC punya grant of 3 million when she formed the startup. But now she didn't use the grant lah because of COVID and all that. So banyak lagi yang pakai Lean Model Canvas in US. Again, this is through my experience of the company that are doing it lah. But and those coaches yang pakai Lean Model Canvas ni throughout the world, they have their own accelerator, they have their own tool. But kat InnoHub itself and UM, we measure how we define success, right? We define success of a startup that goes through the accelerator when they have raised money, betul? Meaning that they do market validation and they solve a problem customer segment, dapat LOI from the customer after send the prototype and pitch kepada Cradle nak bagi duit. That is, again, could be Cradle or it could be funder, right? So in UM, 6 startup out of 13 startup use Lean Model Canvas, got money from angel investors and also Cradle. Well, they're about to get lah. Okay. The UPM, I think we have raised to close to, if I'm not mistaken, about 12 million. Out of 60 startup, sekarang dah 60, lebih kurang 60. 60 startup might be back to my days dulu. We have raised to up to 12 million investment and also grants from the startups. Letak duitnya berapa tau? I think we only spend about 2 million, I think, or 3 million to run the accelerator and to give 100,000 kepada setiap startups. I understand Encik Asri and also Dr. Faizal dengar ada nak buat little bit of accelerator tapi a lower amount. But the idea is that we ask them to do the prototype and we do the market validation, and once market validation and they with the interested parties kat UM, we tell them you do the Lean Model Canvas, you jumpa potential customer, you test and we find a solution, and then the next 2 months you test your prototype. Before you test the prototype, you validate also dengan vendor. These are the pecahan duit. I nak beli this equipment, I nak beli this equipment, I nak buat this much. And also part of validation tu, testing dengan manufacturers. Dengan apa set, because again, lab scale dengan pilot scale berlainan. Lab scale dengan pilot scale and large scale berlainan kan. It's also testing. So the 2 months of prototyping tu, part of UMDT program, and then the last 3 months, semua sekali 6 bulan, dia hantar the prototype sample kepada potential customer yang dia berjumpa the first 2 months tu. Dia okay, boss, saya dah itu 2 bulan lepas saya tanya you, this is my prototype, you test it. This is my IoT device, this is my biomedical device, blah blah blah. The test 2-3 bulan, 2-3 minggu, sampai 2-3 bulan. 1 bulan, 4 minggu, 3 minggu and then the CEO datang balik. Not the researcher, always the entrepreneur atau anak buah PhD student dia yang nak jadi entrepreneur tu. You like it or not? I'm going to take it back. You like it or not? Yes, I like it. Please don't take it back. Okay, can you show me letter of interest, letter of support? Dia kata, why? I want to raise money, untuk dengan Cradle, I want to raise money dengan Mosti, I want to raise money dengan angel investors. If you don't show interest, how am I going to raise money? Right, I cannot produce in my lab now, right? With that, Cradle kata yes. Of course, ada yang juga Cradle kata no, kan? So that's how we go about. So that hopefully answer Dr. Harman punya question lah. Those yang using LMC. Yang lain tak ada. Anybody else wants to ask anything? It's the time.
Okay, any more question? Maybe we can take up one last question. Any last question?
12. Okay.
Okay, 12.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Syuhada ya.
Prof Syuhada from UEM. Yeah, please, Prof.
Oh, alright. do we have any sort of platform which is similar to Funded here in Singapore? Have you heard of Funded here?
Funded here is a crowdsourcing platform, Robert.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Well, crowdsourcing, dia of course banyak in terms of crowdsourcing, sorry, not crowdsourcing, platform macam Pitch In and others pun ada, tapi they might not do Funded Me, dia macam Indiegogo and also apa tu lagi satu tu?
They are basically successful, right? They managed to collect, I think it has been around since 2016 and millions, I think more than 20 million.
Funded here, Prof.
Funded here, yes.
Funded here. So yes, in Malaysia, I tak dengar something like this lagi. But again, there are many that you can go about. One of it is, um, of course, not as extensive as digitalization macam Funded Me ni, but you can do the same also with others macam Pitch In. They do the similarly lah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I've seen students who went for Cradle, pitching in Cradle. Of course, they don't get whatever they wanted. So perhaps we, in Malaysia, we should also have such an avenue,
Yeah.
to help the students.
Prof, most likely those students yang went to Cradle, if they go to Funded Here also, fundedhere.com, most likely it's hard for them to raise money too, because they Funded Me also looking at the same criteria macam mana Cradle cari juga. So what I'm trying to instill for today is trying to address the customer problem, in understanding that customer problem. Of course, kalau you talking about macam Funded Here Cradle tu, they already expect that you are already selling or you're already close to selling, and when you are close to selling, you have already a set of customers interested nak membeli dah, kan? Walaupun belum lagi commercial. And when you already at the stage where you already have interested customers nak membeli, you have already identified and come up with the solution, what is the need of the customer, kan? Most of people fail in identifying that. That is why banyak startup failure also actually the challenge. So in identifying the need tu penting juga, Prof.
Alright. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prof. Prof Sibaro is here. Oh my God. Somebody.
Oh, Prof Sibaro pun dah.
Apa Prof Sibaro? You advise for beginners about the end in mind, what technology spin-off licensing. What's your advice about beginners about end in mind, about technology spin-off licensing? So itu banyak pecahan tu, Prof. Okay, first let's talk about end in mind, about technology and spin-off. At the end of the day, to me, the end in mind, how can you solve customers' problem? That's important. Jangan fikir pasal I'm good at this, I can come up with the solution. Don't do that. But instead, have a state of mind or end in mind that if I want to license something, what is it that I'm licensing for that will solve somebody's problem? Okay. Oh, this is another thing. I always tell people that, and it's not documented anywhere, and probably my ex-boss probably will kill me. People like Prof Fatima, Prof Samsila, and even Dr. Ivy, yang dulu UPM and UM. Of all the 10 licensing deals, on average, kat UPM kita banyak sign licensing agreement. 10 licensing agreement kita sign, when we do not study lah, when I ask them setahun 2 tahun bila dah sign licensing deal with them, 3 ke 4 fail. Fail what do you mean by fail? Fail for them to produce into a product and go to market and menjadilah 3 ke 4. Even though dah sign licensing deal, dia dah pay UPM and UM, this is more towards UPM lah. Again, And why? It's not the research was bad. It's not the transfer technology salah atau apa. Semua berjalan lancar. Of course, ada 2-3 tu we had to work it out and eventually we manage okay lah. But to me, it is always the failure, the part 3 ni, again dia tak nak cakap lah. Failure of the entrepreneur in understanding the customer and the go to market and other things. For example, he thought that, mesin yang aku dah ada ni should be okay lah. Beli je teknologi pada UPM, I'm going to fix it, I'm going to use my current assembly line, that should be okay. Dia punya andaian tu. He should have tested the andaian dengan manufacturer, dengan dia punya team member, dengan staff dia, whatever, dengan orang luar, nak beli mesin baru ke tidak, atau mesin ni boleh produce whatever teknologi yang you nak pakai dalam assembly line tu. Could be that. Number 2, most of the time also, customer yang dia anggapkan beli teknologi tu pun tak betul apa the need of the market tu. It happens so many times. Again, they are just entrepreneurs. That's a challenge with all of us, right? We have habits, especially orang dah ganyak macam saya ni. We are habit yang susah kita nak shake off. We think we betul. We ego so big. The ego is so huge. We think we are right. That is where they feel too. So to answer Prof. Sivaro punya itu, and in mind is again understanding the customer need. But in understanding you have to assume something kan. And actually my philosophy is whatever assumption you have, not only customer, even assumption nak beli machine, even assumption nak hire AI technician, whatever, AI programmer, whatever your assumption, test dulu. Okay, IV 1901 fail, hot dogs 4 juta daripada PNS duit nak buka outlet dekat Jakarta. At the end lepas 2 tahun lingkup tutup, 4 juta terbengkalai daripada duit PNS. Why? Simple reason I didn't test. Kita anggap nak buka outlet dekat Jakarta tu 3 bulan deposit dah cukup. Bukalah outlet, 100,000 satu outlet, 3 bulan deposit, katakanlah 1 bulan deposit 30,000, 120,000 dah cukup untuk deposit. And kita dah build lah 4 juta tu, actually 4 juta tu untuk lain lah, sorry, it wasn't 4 juta, it was 2 juta, 2 juta untuk to grow dekat Jakarta. So almost I would say 1.8, 1.5 million tu was to build outlet, 10 outlet, and also 10 outlet, 10 ke, about that, and enough lah, based on 3 bulan deposit per outlet, right? So, just imagine 120,000 untuk 10 outlet, about that lah kan, 1.2 million, right? And we have to make some other outlets and so on. Sorry, about that, and again, couple of 100,000 to build the outlet, right? Well, you know what we didn't test? We didn't know that it wanted 12 bulan deposit. A simple question to ask a shopping mall would have saved us that 2 juta kan? That is the things that you need to do. You know, jangan ambil andaian. So I would say that the advice for beginners is test your assumptions with people through network. Prof? Baru itu 2 minggu lepas berbual dengan Prof. Siva. Alright, ada lagi soalan? Thank you very much. Thank you. I hopefully, it has benefited everybody. Again, I am more than willing to chit chat with you all on other days.
Terima kasih banyak kepada Cik Zakir kerana giving us some insight, enlighten us about what is the basic of commercialization basically. So at least the important thing is what I can wrap up is important thing is how we can instill the mindset first before we conduct a research. Mindset towards to impact to the end user, to the customer and so on. Okay, so saya nak ucap terima kasih.
I also want to add, Dr. Faizal, is that sounds like you have to do a lot of things. Actually, I even built an online course, academic that you boleh pecahkan kerja-kerja ni and bagi student you buat. meaning that to validate the assumptions. So you don't have to do yourself. So at the end, again, you have a lot of resources. Okay, that's Faizal.
Okey, saya nak ucap terima kasih juga pada semua researcher UUM pada pagi ni. Saya nampak ada banyak, dan juga daripada outsiders UUM, saya nampak ada champion-champion daripada agensi Tuan Haji Azrai, daripada TPM. Tadi saya nampak ada.
Wah, coach pun ada.
Juga kita nampak juga ada kat sini Prof Sivarau tadi daripada UTM, Dr. Herman daripada Pengarah Visi UTM, kemudian Dr. Ridwan juga daripada UTHM, ya. Okey, sambil itu dan juga yang lain-lain lah yang saya sebut nama tu, name few lah. Okey, by the way, kita nak promote sikit, kita ada next week hari yang sama, hari Ahad, pada masa yang sama juga kita ada satu lagi talk, innovating the creation of digital content, the do and do's. So yang ni nak cerita bila nak buat digital content, yang mana boleh ambil, yang mana tak boleh ambil. So Dr. Nurbiha will teach us about the Creative Commons license, what type of royalty free yang boleh, kat part mana yang boleh dan sebagainya. So we are moving forward towards digital content nowadays. So kita nak tengok which do, yang mana yang boleh ambil, yang mana yang tak boleh ambil lah, do and don'ts lah. Okay, so okay, dan at the same time, so please bear with us dengan semua kita punya training dan sebagainya. Dekat website ICC akan ada, dan juga grant. Kita ada grant penjanaan pattern, dan juga kita akan wawarkan juga dalam website kita grant, pre-com grant, and the pre-com grant, small grant. So please watch out our website lah, dan kita akan sentiasa bagi WhatsApp lah, ya. Okay, so itu saja saya ucap on behalf of UM. Saya nak ucapkan terima kasih banyak kepada Encik Zakir. Saya rasa banyak lagi yang kita nak kena belajar ni. Kalau tengok tadi the step-step dalam BMC tu, dia ada step. Okey, yang ni dulu, kemudian dia ada flow-flow dan sebagainya tu kan. So itu pun kita nak kena tengok tu.
Yeah, so, boleh. We can do another workshop.
Yeah, alright.
Okay.
So thank you very much. Encik Zakir, terima kasih semua.
Dr. Faizal, boleh kita tangkap gambar, minta semua orang on video?
Okay.
Oh, on video lah. Ada yang tak boleh on tu.
Kalau boleh buka video semua. Buka video, kita buat sesi tangkap gambar. Photo session. So
Boleh lagi? Mohon on lagi, ada ramai tak belum on lagi. Okay. Lagi?
I was talking to Dr. Faizal yesterday, Doctor. Saya berpendapat social science have, can also be a good place to use this framework. Tak semestinya science, so again, something that don't be distracted that you think social science saja, science background saja. So we have done a lot of lean model canvas untuk social scientists juga.
Okay, terima kasih.
Terima kasih semua. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Terima kasih everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Zakir. See you later.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.